And thank you very much. I think this will be sufficient for now. We have our final issue, and we have Professor Dr. John Osai Kwapong, CDD Fellow, joining us on the matter of the Electoral Commission contemplating November for elections rather than in December. And what a healthy thing everybody is saying for the NDC to be back to the IPAC. Doc, thank you very much once again for joining us. What's your take on this posture of the EC on this matter and what you are reading from the parties as well?
Good morning, Samson, and thank you once again. I was reading about the the rationale behind trying to move the election to November. Some of the reasons alluded to talks about civic engagement and getting people involved. There's the idea that you can also make it a public holiday. We don't necessarily have an issue with voter turnout in our national elections. Holiday or not, I think we do well by showing up to vote. But if it is still to encourage even a higher voter turnout, that's okay. I think for me, moving it to November reinforces and reiterates something that Professor Kweku Asare has been saying over and over again, that in the event that there is an election dispute, and it's in the event that the election has to go for a runoff, right, then you build in enough time to resolve all of those outstanding issues before January 7th, where the duly elected president or member of parliament is sworn into office. So on the basis of that, I think I believe that it would be a good idea to move it to November, if that is to cure some of those challenges you faced. Not that we are anticipating more election disputes, but in the event that time is needed to resolve a number of things before swearing in date, then that is fine to move the election to November. But if it's a question of trying to encourage more citizen engagement and voter turnout, I don't think it does much for that, because when it comes to presidential and parliamentary elections, we don't have a problem, showing up to vote. But again, if that becomes the law, then I think one of the issues we've been talking about is how you improve voter turnout in our district level elections. If moving it and particularly making it a holiday would encourage voter turnout at the district level, then I can see some benefits inuring to that.
That's the proposition. But Prof, we have been here before, where in fact the Attorney General, Marietta Brew, went to Parliament, and it appeared that both sides had agreed that they were going to change the election calendar to November, only for the opposition then to scuttle it. I think it was 2016 or 2016, 2014, right? So, how do you look at the prospects? Is it going to happen really?
Well, let's see sort of what kind of consensus can be built around it. So maybe the circumstances may have been different in 2014. Maybe 10 years later, the thinking has changed, the mindset has shifted, and perhaps both sides will be able to see some virtue. It will be also interesting to see the kind of initial consensus that is built at IPAC. Dr. Farijan recently in his Constitution Day remarks, really talked about the critical role of IPAC in trying to, build consensus around some of these election issues. And that is why, for me, it is also very important, and I'm glad that the main opposition party, the NDC, has returned to IPAC, because I think being one of the two main political parties, it was very unfortunate. And yes, they had legitimate concerns as to why they walked out of IPAC, but I think their return to IPAC is critically important. They have a voice, they have important things to contribute, and so being present at IPAC as the parties try to work with the EC to build consensus around some of these issues, I think it's very important and and a welcome decision.
Right. What do you say? Is this possible? And it coming at a time when the SDA Church, I heard you support that they had a legitimate, concern and it ought to be supported. Do you see that this is going to happen anyway?
Yeah, I said they had a legitimate concern because of Article 21(1)(c), where one has the right to practice his religion, freedom to practice a religion and to manifest same. And that being so, they have a legitimate right. But whether we had appetite for that is another matter. And I said that clearly on the distance. In this particular case, and I agree entirely with Professor Kwapo, there is the reasons given by the Electoral Commission appear to be a non-starter. They talk about turnout. And our turnout has always been beyond 60.
So you do it on a holiday, then you improve it.
Well, and again, that's a fundamental, I'm happy you're a lawyer, that's a fundamental responsibility. That's a fundamental matter because elections are not a duty. They're a right. Okay? So everybody must have the right to vote. But you can't get punished for not voting. So again, they are wrong there. They are wrong in thinking that if we declare it a holiday, the turnout will go up. Because if
you make it easier.
No, it has always been easy. It has always been easy. Thirdly, there is no immediacy. In 2014, we thought that the 2019 experience of Ghana brought us on the brink of a constitutional crisis. We had a very limited transition period. And so things were done in a way that people clearly had issues. Now, so we thought that let's move it to November. In 2014, everybody appreciated the difficulty. But we were told, no, you need 2/3 majority. And that they were not prepared. The MPP then was not prepared to. But what is the immediacy? What is the problem now? What is the problem we're trying to deal with? Because turnout is good. 78% turnout in a developing country like ours is good. Okay? Two, you can amend the constitution based on a religious imperative. Because there are so many religions, and Ghana is a secular state. Okay? Three, the motions you have to go through to do that. You have to get the Council of State involved, you have to get Parliament involved, so the motions involved. Four is simply this election 2024 is so crucial that you don't introduce unknown quantities into the election for people to have issue. That is why we in the NDC as a party will not support any attempt now to move the election date from 7th December to 7th November. No, we won't support it.
Interesting. And that's where we draw the curtains on today's edition of Newsfile. And remember that your Joy News team has got you covered as far as the NPP parliamentary primaries for constituencies that have sitting MPs continues right away. Samson Ladi Anyanini, my guest that you have been listening to over the period have been Dr. Yao Ba, Secretary General of the TUC, Samuel Dubik Mahama, Managing Director of the ECG, Ofosu Amwa, Executive Secretary, National Labour Commission, Professor Apieje Etua of the University of Ghana, Martin Pebu, lawyer and rights activist, was also lawyer for ACP Benjamin Agbojo, Professor Dr. John Osai Kwapong, you just heard him a while ago. Inusa Fuseni is former Minister, Lands and Natural Resources, and he's also a lawyer. He was also Minister for Roads. Godfred Yeboah Dame, the Attorney General, also joined us. This show has been brought to you by the candid sponsorship of Bank of Africa, as strong as a group and close as a partner, MTN, everywhere you go. Ashesi University, educating ethical and entrepreneurial leaders for Africa. Robert & Sons Optical Services, your comprehensive eye care service provider for 33 years plus. My Way Insurance. You simply dial *165# on MTN to join My Way today. Syntex Tanks, it's strong, it's tough, and Flamingo Paints, simply superior. I'm Samson Ladia Nyanini. Have a good afternoon, but keep your dials here. Continue with the comprehensive special coverage of the NPP's parliamentary primaries.